Good afternoon, everybody! That may or may not be the way these start from now on. Anyway, my name is Whiskers, and thank you for joining me for another episode of Cat and Mouse. This episode is brought to you by my placement match for this new quarter, and probably the number 42. Anyway, so today we're going to watch the first of my ladder matches for this season 11? 13? I'll check on that later. Maybe I'll put it in the comments. Anyway, this is to show you that placement matches shouldn't be that scary. So let's take a look. It's pretty boring. I apologize. This is not, a epic battle of awesomeness. But hopefully you'll learn a couple of things that you may not have known and some safe builds to get you through your placement matches when you play them. So without further ado, let's get started here. Probably should have had this playing in the background while I was talking about things. Anyway, so we're going to have, let's introduce our players first. So in the upper right-hand corner, we have Try StarCraft's Whiskers, and that would be me. And in the upper left corner, we have Goobers. Great name, by the way, all caps, so you got to yell it. Goobers! And he is a goober. It's a ZVZ, which, I'll be honest, at the moment is a little bit boring. And you'll find out why in just a moment. This is one of the new maps, and the name eludes me. But basically, let's talk about the map real quick. It's a very large map with no cross spawns enabled. So it can spawn in any one of these 4 locations. And your main is very well protected with these rocks, although there is a dead area over here for flying units to kind of congregate as well as above your base. But from land, there's this entrance, which is your guarded second, and a little raised platform over here, which if I was playing Terran, I would love to put some siege tanks up there. Your third is either going to be here, I believe it's going to be here, regardless of who you are and what you're doing. It's protected by these rocks. It does have a ramp, which you can kind of easily block off if you're a walling off kind of race, which, by the way, I don't think Zerg are. But anyway, so as you can see, because of the cross-spawning, or the lack of cross-spawning, Zerg kind of have to shuffle in all 3 directions. This is my little guy headed this way. And what's going to happen is I sent my first overseer south, my second overseer to the upper left, I guess, the west? Sure. And then I sent the 10th drone over to the farthest location. You want to send your overlords to a location that they can get to quickly. So don't try sending your overlords halfway across the map. That's not going to work. Your drone will make that trip in half the time before your first overlord can even get to the corner. So as you can see, we're both scouting around looking for where are they? Where is everybody? In the meantime, I've gone with your standard 15 pool, then 15 hatchery. So you build a pool when you get 15 drones, and then you build another drone to get another 15 drones, and then you build your hatchery. And looks like he went for the same thing. So equal build. And this is what I'm talking about. ZVZ is all about just mirroring your opponent and scouting. So as you can see, my overlord, who's about to make a terrible, terrible mistake, he is going to A, spot the fact that there's already a spawning pool here, which, I mean, if there wasn't, at this point, I would have rushed him with a whole bunch of Zerglings. But he's going to make a terrible mistake and fly over the poor little queen here, and he's going to die. But quickly, I realize that he's going to die, and I build another one. Now, this is going to supply cap me for just a moment. Luckily, I wasn't at max supply, which, may be a mistake on my part. But I was getting my second base ready over here, saturating that, as well as taking care of a drone that was flying around here. So injecting into my base here. I'm trying to get metabolic boost as quickly as possible, knowing that he already has his spawning pool and not knowing exactly when he got it. I haven't yet spotted that he has a second hatchery, and I'll be doing that shortly with this here overseer. So either he went 10 pool and I'm, you know, bulking up my units. I couldn't think of a word there for a second. Or I'm going to have quick roaches, quick lings, and that'll be great. So as you can see, still haven't gotten it. There it goes. So a little bit late, but I was getting a couple of units out, maybe in fear, and with a good reason. So these guys over here, they definitely are going to be awesome, awesomely defeated. Let's go with awesomely defeated. I don't scout them early, so they do manage to sneak into my base. I think, yeah, they take out this queen, which is a terrible, terrible mistake. They shouldn't really ever get it. The 6 lings shouldn't get it. It's just not a thing. And they'll escape with their hard-earned win there, but it's okay. I now have a good 8 lings of my own with 8 more on the way. So don't do what I do. That's an overreaction. Although in this case, it just happened to be the right reaction because he came back with how much is that? 16, 14. Math is hard. But yeah, so we have our 2 queens, 1 per base, which is good. I believe this one's about to hatch. We have fully saturated, or almost fully saturated, we're still working on that, drones here. Now remember, fully saturated drones means you have 17 or 18, depending on the map and the size of the base, etc. Drones working on your mineral lines. In this base, I have 15. So this base is saturated nicely, although we haven't gotten gas here yet, and I'll be working on getting this one all the way up. I do have a Baneling nest, which, I'll be honest, I didn't actually end up using in this game. I think it was more of a precautionary measure, and to be honest, I could have changed a couple of these into lings or banelings for protection, I guess you could call it. But it wasn't actually needed. He never really got that many Zerglings. He started going to roach production, which I didn't get early on, but I'll show you what I did do. So in ZVZ, if you're scouting and you know what your opponent's doing, do what the opposite of your opponent, or do what your opponent's doing. If you're like me and you're guessing, which don't do, which I'll show you how to scout later, but if you're not scouting, the good bet is what we're going to go with. The good bet is that you wall off or get as many protection units here, and you'll see in a second here I'll put a little bit of a wall of 3 crawlers. I'll get my gases, and transition to air, because Mutalisks versus Zerg are, well, the team with the most wins, basically. Now they did do a little bit of buffing for Mutalisks lately. The the spore crawlers, the anti-air defensive ground unit, they do triple damage now against Mutalisks. So don't try running into their base if they have protection, unless you have some ground forces to take that out. As you can see, my spines are going to finish here, so I'll be fairly protected against this roach ball here that he thinks is going to go well for him. But I have enough Zerglings and enough minerals on the way to definitely get plenty of that protection that I need. Now, I'm still working on saturating my base. I am also producing 6 overlords in response to the fact that I'm soon going to have this spire done. And I will just want to bust out all of my minerals worth of Mutalisk. So again, minerals with mutas are typically not an issue if your bases are correctly saturated. As you see, this one is just about to be that saturated, and I believe this one is perfectly saturated as well. So maybe one more here and one more here would have been best. As you can see, as you build buildings, which is important to note, you're losing units, so remember to replenish them. I didn't, but that's because this is a fairly short match. But you'll see my spire and immediately 11 Mutalisks go into production. So let's look at the units tab real quick. He has 15 roaches, which cannot shoot air. He has 49 Zerglings, which cannot shoot air, and 2 queens. This is what I'm talking about. If in ZVZ there are not terribly, and people don't typically go into Hydra production unless there's a reason to do so. And if your opponent isn't scouting you correctly, they're not going to do it. Hydras are good for many things, but really they're anti-mutas. and in this case, he didn't scout me for mutas, and he's about to lose all of his units because he cannot attack a single one of them. So he's got definitely the unit advantage. I think this is how you... No, that's not how you bring it up at all. Anyway, you push buttons and things happen. Let's see. What's the button for the units? We'll watch this. Come on. Control R. Let's do that. So units killed is about to plummet in a big way. So we have a giant ball over here, and as you can see, all my lings immediately get killed, dead. Nothing to do with that. I can't do anything against it. I think his lings are even upgraded. Yep, they have carapace, so I can't really take that out, but he has absolutely nothing, zero, that he can do against these Mutalisks. Now, if you'll notice, he'll probably immediately go into producing Hydras if he's smart. Let's see. Come on. You can do it. Oh, yeah, there you go. Hydralisk's production. And he builds one Spore Crawler. One. Folks, if you see mutas on the field, a minimum 2 Spore Crawlers per base. And preferably get them up on your furthest natural first. And your main. Your second is typically more protected, depending on where it is on the map. But as you can see, I'm going to immediately go for this. And this is my mistake over here. I wanted to see exactly how much power these Spore Crawlers. And he actually takes out like 4 of my mutas, which is a terrible trade there. Spore Crawlers are extremely cheap, and Mutalisks are extremely expensive. So right now, as you can see, I'm continuing to buff up my mutas, and as well, I have my +1 along the way. Now, if you'll notice, my resources here are climbing ridiculously fast. Here's a pro tip. If you don't have anything to build, or you're not planning to build anything specific, build hatcheries. The more units you can produce, and the less you have to think about injecting, and you can do stuff with that. Another thing you can do with a whole bunch of free resources that you can't pump into anything at the moment because you're just trying to mass up on mutas like myself here, is build a bunch of lings. And as you can see, 26 lings in production. I've almost got, and you can also build overlords to cap out your supply. Remember, 200 supply is the max. So, yeah, he's stopped production entirely. I don't know why. Why have you stopped production, Goobers? Goober, you're such a goober. He's gotten some detection here. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. We're just going to go with he's thought they were cool looking. Yep, that's what we're going to go with. So, not good saturation there. 7 out of 24. Ooh, 9 out of 24. Yeah, you got to get your bases saturated. And this is a gold versus gold match, so if you're wondering what the play level is like above you, if you're in bronze or silver, yeah, people make mistakes here too. Got to get that full saturation. And, you know, I didn't saturate my third. I was planning on moving my first base drones into my third as they were drilling out. The game didn't actually go that long enough for me to do that. But here you go. My Mutalisk ball of death and pain. They currently have +1, and I'm currently also working on +2. At this point, yeah, he can't do much. And you'll notice they tried to run up there. I was like, no, stop! Stop, what are you doing? These rocks, remember, you can go sneaky, sneaky around people's bases. So I'm going to take out these rocks here really quick. You'll notice there's no attack happening from him whatsoever. It looks like this drone tried to go somewhere, take out his base. He's like, oh no, what am I going to do? Let's get the ball in place. And the Hydra Ball is deadly against Mutalisks. That's wonderful, but with this many lings, and I have +1 ling attack on the way, +1 Mutalisks, I mean, there's not much this player can do at this point. You gotta counter with your own mutas. It's the first to mass muta wins in a ZVZ until Blizzard changes the dynamic and the speed in which you can get mutas. So let's recap real quick here. The first thing is in ZVZ, it's the first to mutas, right? Get some Zerglings to defend your base early, get Zerg speed so that you can defend quickly. The more speed your units have, the better you can surround quicker, and the first person to surround in a ZVZ is going to be the winner. Zerg, that's what you do. You surround your opponent and you do a lot of damage. Zerglings do not do a ton of damage. Let's take a look real quick. They do 5. 5 is terrible, right? But when you have 7 or 8 Zerglings around your one unit, that's 5 times 8. and you guys can do the math. I think it's 45, 40. Math is hard, okay? Just deal with it. Anyway, so the point was Mutalisks, these things, flappy, flappy. They're so cool looking too. Anyway, you have been watching Cat and Mouse, which is our ladder games. I do want to start casting a lot more different type of matches. So, if you are in a higher league or a lower league and want me to look at your matches or play against you or cast one of the matches that you've played and just want to hear my dulcet voice, just send it to Whiskers, Whiskers, SC2 at gmail.com, and I'll be more than happy to take a look, and you might show up on this stream. Another thing is I'm waiting for the replays of WCS to get released. I know they released the qualifiers, but I'm waiting for the full replays to hopefully get released sometime soon. They said they would. You know, they've been fickle about it. But I really want to show you some of my favorite players, even if they didn't make it in. People like Hero and people like Scarlet. I really love their play style and the way they react to certain things. And I want to have a little segment on the show that just shows you fun arcade games, or not even arcade games, maybe not even StarCraft related. Yes, think of the possibilities. Anyway, everybody, thank you for watching, and I hope that you continue watching. Please subscribe. Please tell your friends to subscribe, and I will be doing more of these every week. I hope to get it up to 3 times a week, but right now we're going to go for 1 time a week. Anyway, I'm Whiskers, and don't get any hairballs.